Indeed, the first Americans I knew and loved were the characters I met in my treasured childhood novels.
Queen Camilla spent nearly 2 decades carefully building her position inside the British royal family. She managed the press, shaped what people thought of her, placed her own family members into well-paid royal roles, and slowly turned herself from the most hated woman in Britain into a queen. It looked like the perfect ending to a very complicated story, but there is one person who watched every single move she made and stored every single detail away. And now that person owns everything. The estate, the homes, the payroll, and eventually the power to decide where Camilla lives after Charles is gone. That person is Prince William, and he has already started making his moves. The billion-dollar transfer that changed everything. On September 8, 2022, Queen Elizabeth II died at Balmoral Castle in Scotland. The whole world stopped. Tributes poured in from every country. News channels went live for days. People lined up for miles to pay their respects. And while all of that was happening, something else took place that barely made a single headline. In the exact moment Charles became king, William became the Duke of Cornwall. Not a day later, not after some formal ceremony. The second his father's reign began, the transfer happened automatically by law. And what transferred into William's hands that afternoon was something almost impossible to fully picture. The Duchy of Cornwall is one of the oldest and most valuable private estates in Britain. It is worth $1.2 billion. It covers 135,000 acres of land spread across 23 counties in England and Wales. It includes the Isles of Scilly, a group of beautiful islands off the coast of Cornwall. It includes half of Dartmoor in Devon. It includes historic castles, farms, holiday cottages, tenant properties, and decades of careful financial investments. The estate was created in 1337 specifically so that the heir to the throne would always have their own source of income, completely independent of whoever was sitting on the throne at the time. That independence was the whole point. The heir could never be financially pressured or controlled by the monarch. By 2025, William was earning $30 million a year from this estate. He pays tax on it voluntarily, even though the law does not actually require him to. But here is the part of this story that most people completely missed. This was the same estate that had funded Charles's household for decades while he was still heir to the throne. The income from this estate paid for Charles's properties, his lifestyle, and his projects during all those years. It was also the same estate that was funding his life during the years he was secretly conducting the affair with Camilla that destroyed his marriage to Diana. The money that flowed through this estate ran alongside one of the most painful private chapters in modern royal history. William knew all of that. He had grown up inside it. And now he owned the estate. Every property, every tenant, every contract, and every name on the payroll, including one name that had been there for almost 20 years, Annabel Elliot, Queen Camilla's younger sister. Annabel had been hired in 2005 to work as an interior designer for properties across the duchy. She designed holiday cottages on the Isles of Scilly. She worked on historic castles. She transformed run-down buildings into beautiful guest spaces used for weddings and private events. By 2014, she had been named one of the 5 most influential female interior designers in the entire United Kingdom. Her work was genuinely respected. But here is how she got the contract in the first place. She did not apply for it. There was no competitive process, no open application, no review panel. She got the job because her sister married the man who owned the estate. That was the beginning and the end of the explanation. For 20 years, that arrangement ran without a problem. Because For 20 years, Charles was the one in charge. Then William took over, and the first thing he did was open the payroll. The second thing he did tells you everything about where this story is going. But before we get there, you need to understand exactly what Camilla had been building inside this family for the past 2 decades. Because William's actions were not random. They were an answer to something. What Camilla built while everyone was watching something else.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm hoping my voice isn't going to conk out before the end of this speech, but as you can imagine, I have been talking.
Most people think of Camilla's rise as a simple love story. Charles loved her. Diana was in the way. Eventually, Charles got what he wanted. That version of events leaves out almost everything that actually happened. Before Charles married Camilla in April 2005, William and Harry went to their father privately. They had one specific request. They told him they supported him. They were willing to welcome Camilla into the family, but they asked him not to marry her. Just be together, they said. The reason was simple. A wedding would drag Diana's name through every newspaper in the world all over again. It would force the public to compare their mother directly to the woman who had been her husband's mistress for most of their marriage. Neither son wanted that for her memory. Charles heard them out. Then he married Camilla anyway. To manage the public reaction, Buckingham Palace made a public promise. When Charles eventually became king, Camilla would be known as Princess Consort, not Queen. That was the official position. William accepted it, attended the wedding, and kept his feelings somewhere private, where no one could see them. Then, in February 2022, Queen Elizabeth released a statement marking 70 years on the throne. Buried inside that message was a quiet but enormous decision. She said it was her sincere wish that Camilla be known as Queen Consort when the time came. The public assumed it was a warm gesture of acceptance. People who were close to the Queen described it very differently. They said she was not blessing Camilla. She was afraid of what would happen if she did not. The Queen was dying. She knew it. And she was trying to manage a situation she would not be alive to control. Then came the coronation in May 2023. The word consort quietly disappeared. Camilla was no longer Queen Consort. She was simply Queen. The exact title William and Harry had once specifically asked their father to never allow. It happened anyway. But the title was only part of what Camilla built. The more important work happened behind closed doors. She was known, according to multiple royal biographers, to go to Charles privately and whisper her version of events about William and Harry when no one else was in the room. She shaped what Charles believed about his own sons slowly and quietly, from the inside. When she wanted to look good in the press, stories appeared. When she needed someone else to look bad, those stories appeared too. Her team was reportedly behind planting a false story that Meghan had made Kate cry before the royal wedding in 2018. That story spread everywhere, caused real damage inside the family, and almost everyone in the palace knew it was not true. When William and Harry went to their father to tell him what his communications team was doing, Charles shouted at William and told him he was being paranoid. Camilla had built a system where every door William tried to open led back to her. She had influence over the press. She had the ear of the king. And she had family members installed in positions across the royal structure. William was not paranoid. He was paying close attention, and he was storing every single thing away, waiting for the moment when he had enough power to respond. That moment came when he inherited the duchy, and the first person who felt it was Annabel Elliot. The removal that sent a message louder than any speech. William did not call a press conference. He did not release a statement. He did not say a single word publicly about what he was doing. He simply waited for the Duchy of Cornwall to publish its routine annual financial accounts. It is a document almost no one outside royal financial circles reads. A dry record of income, expenses, and staffing across the estate. But this time, one name was missing. Annabel Elliot was gone from the payroll. 20 years of royal employment ended without a single public word. A royal expert described the situation carefully, using the kind of language people use when they are trying not to say something too directly. She said William had taken Annabel off the payroll since becoming Duke of Cornwall, and that this had caused some ripples and headlines. An official source said the decision was no reflection on Annabel's work. Everyone inside the royal world understood that was a polite way of saying the opposite. A separate royal source was considerably more direct. They said William wanted to cut away the royal hangers-on and reduce the lavish spending his father had built up while managing the estate. Cut away the hangers-on. That phrase tells you exactly what William thought of the arrangement Charles had quietly built for Camilla's family. The financial figures involved were actually quite modest in the context of a billion-dollar estate. Annabel had been earning somewhere between around £20,000 and £80,000 per year, depending on the scope of work. Against an estate worth $1.2 billion, those numbers are almost nothing. The money was never the point. The message was the point, and the message was received. While Annabel's name disappeared from the payroll, new names appeared. William brought in personal friends and godparents to his children, George and Louis, people he had chosen himself, people with no connection to Camilla whatsoever. Out went Camilla's family. In came William's people. But the duchy was only one front in this quiet conflict. Every year, the royal family gathers at Sandringham for Christmas. It is one of the most important traditions the monarchy has. One year, Camilla invited her son, Tom Parker Bowles, her child from her first marriage, to join the family Christmas there. Reports emerged that William made his position clear. He would not attend the main Christmas lunch if Tom was present. Camilla invited Tom anyway. Tom came. William did not attend the main gathering. He spent Christmas with Kate and their children at their own home on the Sandringham estate instead. Camilla had just pushed the future King of England out of a family Christmas at an estate he will one day own. And she did it by simply refusing to back down. Then, in September 2025, during Donald Trump's state visit to Windsor Castle, Kate fell into easy, natural conversation with Melania Trump. The two women were connecting warmly. Then Camilla stepped in from the side and made a short, firm motion toward Kate. Body language experts who watched the video described it bluntly as pulling rank, almost shooing the future queen away. In public, in front of world leaders. The clip spread across every platform within hours. William had watched every version of every line get crossed, and each time he stored it away. The homes Camilla calls hers, and the man who actually owns them. Right now, Camilla's life looks completely secure from the outside. She lives between Buckingham Palace, Clarence House, Sandringham, and Balmoral. She has official royal duties. She holds the title Her Majesty the Queen. She is patron of more than 90 charities. She has the full protection and support of her husband. From the outside, her position looks permanent and untouchable. But every single thing she has is tied to one man, and that man has cancer. Here is the detail most people do not know, and it is the most important thing in this entire story. Sandringham House in Norfolk and Balmoral Castle in Scotland are not government buildings. They are not crown properties managed by some institution. They are privately owned, the same way a family home is privately owned. Queen Elizabeth inherited both of them from her father. When Elizabeth died in September 2022, they passed directly to Charles. When Charles dies, they pass directly to William. Balmoral is worth around $140 million. Sandringham is worth around $65 million. Together, that is over $200 million in private property that Camilla currently walks through, sleeps in, and calls home. None of it belongs to her, not in any legal document anywhere in the world. When Charles dies, these homes will belong to William. Whether Camilla can continue to live in them will depend entirely on what William decides to allow. There is no legal protection that guarantees her access. She will be a guest if William extends that courtesy. And based on everything we have already covered, that courtesy is far from guaranteed. There is another detail that makes Camilla's situation even more exposed. She used to own a private home of her own, completely separate from any royal property. It was called Ray Mill House, a property in Wiltshire that had been hers long before she married Charles. She used to describe the garden there as the best therapy in the world. It was her retreat, her private space, the one place where she could simply be herself, away from all the pressure of royal life. She sold it. She sold the only home that was completely and only hers. The reasons given were that she wanted to commit fully to her life as queen. But the consequence of that decision is now impossible to undo. When Charles dies, Camilla will have no private property of her own anywhere. She will live wherever William decides she can live. There is one more layer to this that hits the hardest of all. Balmoral is where William was 15 years old when his father came to his room before dawn to tell him his mother had died. He and Harry walked those grounds that morning as two boys trying to survive something no child should ever have to survive. And the detail sitting underneath all of this like a stone is that when Charles received the news from Paris that night, the first person he called was Camilla. She was the first to know about Diana's death, before the Queen, before his sons, before anyone else. Camilla now walks those same grounds as Queen. William will own them one day. He knows exactly what happened at Balmoral. He has never forgotten. And when the title transfers, Kate becomes queen, and Camilla steps back to a title that the entire world will notice is smaller than the one she has now. She will be entirely dependent on the goodwill of the man who remembers all of it. What happens next, and why Camilla has no way out? King Charles III has been fighting cancer. During this period, he has had quiet conversations with William about what happens after he is gone. Multiple sources have described the tone of those conversations as urgent and personal. The message from Charles to his son was clear: leave Camilla alone, protect her, do not push her out. A dying king spending what could be his final years trying to secure his wife's future by appealing directly to the one person who has the power to take it all away. That single detail tells you more about where this is heading than almost anything else in this story. William's response was not given in words. It was given in a payroll report. It was given in a Christmas he did not attend. It was given in the friends he hired to replace the woman his father's wife had placed inside his estate. When Charles dies, the transfer of power is automatic and immediate. William becomes king the second his father is gone. Kate becomes queen. Camilla loses the title of queen entirely. It passes to Kate. Camilla would likely become Queen Dowager, meaning the widow of a king. It is not a shameful title, but it is a significant step back that the entire world will notice, and there is nothing Camilla can do to prevent it.
Oh, but he was wonderful. He used to sit at the end of our beds every night and read us. He's incredibly exciting.
But here is what makes the situation genuinely frightening for her. Her title is not protected by birth. She is royal by marriage only. That means it will be up to William to decide what she is called, where she lives, and how she is treated after Charles is gone. He watched Charles strip Diana of her royal title after their divorce. He was a teenager when that happened. He knows exactly how the process works, and he now holds the exact same power over Camilla that Charles once held over Diana. Camilla built her position brilliantly. She managed the press. She influenced the king. She placed her family into royal roles. She outlasted almost everyone who stood against her. She got the title she was told she would never have. She turned herself from the most hated woman in Britain into a queen. But she did all of that inside a system that she does not own. She built her empire in someone else's house. And that someone else is now the person who watched her build it from the time he was a child. She sold the only home that was truly hers. She placed her family inside an estate that now belongs to William. She pushed him out of a family Christmas at a house he will one day own. She let her team dismiss his wife in public in front of world leaders. And she did all of it while relying entirely on the protection of a man with cancer. William has not made a single dramatic public move. He has not given interviews or released statements. He has simply, very quietly, started making decisions. And each decision has sent a message that everyone inside the royal family has understood perfectly. The question is not whether William is going to act. The question is how far he is willing to go. Camilla spent 20 years carefully engineering her rise to the top of the most powerful family in Britain, only to end up entirely dependent on the goodwill of the one person who watched every move she made and never forgot any of it. Did she build a kingdom or a trap? Share your thoughts with us in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe to our channel. For more interesting stories like this, be sure to click on the next video that pops up on your screen. You never know what you'll discover next.